Story. Welcome to the Close Traffic Podcast, an aviation and flight simulation show. Welcome aboard.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Closed Traffic Podcast, an aviation and flight simulation show. I'm Johnny, and along with me in the flight deck here is my main man, Charlie. Charlie, say hello to people, my man.
Hey, are we recording this time?
Maybe. Roll the dice here.
Oh, Mike's not here, so we gotta keep old Johnny in check.
Right, producer Mike's on PTO today, but he definitely sends everyone his regards. How you been there, Charlie?
I've been good, man. Just trying to get over last night's game. Whew.
Oh my Lord!
Glad I didn't stroke out on the couch.
Oh my! We heard nothing on the chat, so I knew things were pretty intense yesterday.
It was, yeah.
Leave him alone.
Yeah, when the dogs are sitting at my feet like, "Daddy, you okay?" It's rough.
Oh my gosh, it's a rough one indeed. But CTP family, again, welcome for another episode. Definitely looking forward to this one here. This one here is actually being recorded today on September 15th, 2024. I was going to say 2025. Ooh,
it's almost here.
It's almost here, man. It's like right around the corner. This episode will air first for our Patreoners. Just want to slide in a quick shout out to our Patreoners as well. Thank you for all your support. Also, want to give a quick shout out to our good friends over there at High Performance. Steve, we love you. Definitely check out a lot of their products as well on highperformancegroup.com. I think hopefully I didn't mess that up. If I did, I'm sorry, Steve. Yeah, man. So Georgia Bulldogs there. Looks like they pulled out the win. I consider a win for us here because we have a heck of a show again.
Man, bump them dogs. Let's get into this thing.
Let's slide into it. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce Mr. Ken Cage from Airplane Repo. Those of you who aren't familiar, Airplane Repo went for oh my gosh, 4 seasons and went from 2010 to 2015 on Discovery Channel. My favorite show. And but
it's for real.
Oh my gosh, man. But yep, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. King Cage, say hello to the people, sir.
Hey everyone. How are you guys doing? Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Cool. Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. It's definitely this has definitely been, I know all of my shows are, it's been quite honored to have the opportunity to jump on the mic and spend time with everyone, but definitely look forward to this one. I don't want to keep the people waiting, Ken, but Airplane Repo, to me, I think this is what made it so interesting because those of us who are, in aviation, followed the industry for a long time, and those who are aspiring to enter the aviation industry, for a long time, the traditional career path was to, get your licenses, segue into the airlines, and, pull a chart case for forever and a day. And then here comes this TV show, because most of us, we tend to watch Discovery Channel. I mean, Lord knows I'm a nerd. Here comes Discovery Channel, right, with this new TV show, Airplane Repo, and I'm watching it, and I'm thinking, holy smokes! So, there's actually, a thing where people are going and reacquiring assets for banks and things of that nature. And so you mean I can fly different types of aircraft, so I guess, kid, my first question for you was, what got you into industry? What got Ken into the more specifically the aircraft repossession industry?
Yeah, it's funny. My entire career makes no sense. So that's the best part about it. You know, through a multitude of things going on, like everybody has in their lives. You know, I did banking for a while. I worked with Chrysler Financial, collecting on past due loans, things like that. But that's boring. I'm sitting in an office with 600 people, great people. But it's just like, gosh, I got to do something different. And a friend of mine, Bob Weeks, and I, at the same time, were like, we want to do something for ourselves. Right now, I had no aviation experience, like zero. I didn't know anything about it. You know, single engine, twin engine. I don't know. They fly, right? They take me from here to Florida. That was my knowledge when we bought the company, more or less. And Bob and I bought it together. Bob and I have been friends for years. Since we were like 11 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. So we looked at a million different companies. He loves golf. We're both athletic. So we looked at like an indoor golf training facility, another golf training facility. Like we're looking that way. I get on one of the business broker sites and I see this one thing, and it says repossession company, and then in the byline it says high-end repossessions, boats and airplanes. I'm like, well, I do collections now. I deal with repo guys, and totally naive and foolishly said that's something I can do. Yeah, if I only knew. So, at the time, my wife and I had 4 kids, my youngest being a year.
Oh,
so
smokes.
I tell her, this one makes sense, Karen. She's like, no way in the world are you going to be repossessing things when we have babies at home. You're going to get killed. So, okay, we go looking. We're looking here at this company, that none of them made sense. We literally got financials for 150 companies. None of them made sense.
Wow.
So as fate would have it, one night, put the kids to bed. It's a Saturday night. It's 11:30. We're just finally getting ready to go to bed. And we turn on the TV for a minute, and here's a guy repossessing an airplane. I kid you not. It was a 3-minute clip, and it looked so boring and so easy. The guy's like, yeah, we just film during the day because nobody's here during the day. He calls the pilot from the restaurant at the airport. He walks out, jumps in the plane, takes off, and he's gone. And my wife and I look at each other like, Karen, that's pretty simple. Again, naive as can be. But that was enough because she saw that. She's like, okay, you can do it. And then off we went. Didn't know anything. I learned everything about it while I was doing it. So like here we are, a new company. It was basically down to 0 sales. We had to build it up. Knew nothing about the boats, didn't know anything about airplanes. Luckily, we were based in Orlando. And as you know, Embry-Riddle's in Daytona.
Yep.
Oh.
So we made that connection with a couple. Well, one, Trevor Otto, he's my main guy. That was the first one I met. He ditched me on a repo, ran away and hid. Pissed me off to this day. He left me by myself with the cops, 20 of them.
Wow.
Yeah. He went hiding. I'm like, come on, man. But yeah, so through Trevor obviously knew everybody at Embry-Riddle. So then we got, a couple other guys I like to mention. Duke Simley is the other one who did a ton of them. Tom Huntington. They're great pilots, great mechanics in there. Like we had it set. So we were getting these guys at Embry-Riddle, their hours and their different types and stuff like that of flying.
Sure.
They were able to go to commercial because of us.
Wow.
And one of the proudest things I say is I was on a repo with Duke. We had gone to Tracy, California, which is east of San Francisco. Repoed a Mooney out there. It was a terrible airplane, but we repoed it. Coming back, we're on the Bay Bridge heading back to San Fran, and Duke gets the call that he has the commercial job. Like he's sitting in the car with me and I'm driving. I'm like, dude, like you did it.
Wow.
You totally did it. And I was, it still gives me goosebumps because he was at that time he was 22 or whatever, just a great guy. And it's like we helped.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So now Duke's he's a pilot. He's a commercial pilot. We still stay in touch. So long answer to your question, but that's kind of, we got into it with no knowledge. We picked up what we could. We've learned as much as we could. And obviously doing 3,200 repos later, we know a little bit. We're still not pilots. I'm still not a pilot because it's more expensive for me to fly than it is to hire people.
Yeah. Wow. That was my next question.
Well, look at that. I jumped the thing there.
Beat me to it. No worries.
Yeah. So I like
But
to tell people that because that's what everybody wants to give me grief because I don't fly. I'm like, well, the heart surgeon doesn't drive the ambulance either, but you're still going to get
exactly.
your heart surgery.
Exactly.
There's so many pilots out there. They're just incredible pilots. And
Wow.
if it's cheaper for me to hire an incredible pilot than have me learn how to do it, I'm going with the pro.
Absolutely, because it sounds like to me, Ken, that it's not just Ken Cage in this operation. There, it sounds as if you have to build a team and surround yourself with quality individuals to make everything happen. And I know it's difficult for a lot of us aviation nerds. It's like, wow, all these aircraft. I'm totally flying all of these. But I could only imagine flying would be just a small part. In this big process that has to happen in order, to accomplish what needs to be done. Yeah,
there's really 3 phases to it. Okay, the first part is finding it, and that's the part I like to say I'm good at. We had a very, very high completion rate, much higher than the industry, and that's something I took pride in. You talk about nerds. I have a math degree, so. With that kind of thinking, I always said, having the athletic competitive side with the math problem solving, I think that helped me a lot be able to find things, because if you can't find it, clearly you're not going to repo.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
So it's putting pieces together and finding out. And I always told my guys, like, it's going to be the smallest little detail that you're going to ignore that's going to solve the whole thing for you. So pay attention to everything. And that's where the math comes in. Like, how many times the kids do math problems and they forgot to change the sign from positive to negative or vice versa. The whole problem's blown. That little tiny detail makes all the difference. And I think that's helped me a lot. So it's once we find it, that's the tough part, getting to the aircraft.
Sure.
Then I need a pilot. I need a pro pilot. We'll determine how we're going to do it, how many cases we're doing. A lot of times we'll all hop in the plane. Pilot will fly us to the next one. We'll go repo the next one, and we'll bounce around.
Wow.
There was one with Trevor and Duke that I started in Fort Worth, Texas. No, I started in Lubbock, got a 414, flew to Fort Worth, got another 414, then flew around. We went to Auburn. I hope there's no Auburn fans in here. We went right onto their college airport, picked up another plane, went off and got another one. By the end of the night, we were in New Jersey, where we got a little single, I forget exactly what it was, but a little small airplane. So we started in Lubbock, came all the way around, and 18 hours later, 19 hours later, we had 5 airplanes in different locations. So we kept moving around. But the pilots are key. Then the last part is we sell them. So that's where the brokerage skills come in. And honestly, that's where the money comes.
Wow.
So, standard commission rate is 10% for a smaller single engine type airplane.
Sure.
The percentage goes down as the value goes up, as you can imagine, but we would give discounts anyway, because we were, especially like from 2007 through 2012, we had so many freaking airplanes. We just said, we don't, keep giving us the business. We'll cut you a little break on each airplane. And that worked out tremendously for us.
Wow. Holy smokes. And one could only imagine as well, in my mind, you're going from, location to location, reclaiming these aircraft. Are there any, I guess, legal implications as it relates to the FAA that needs to be done for the paperwork and airworthiness and things of that nature for the aircraft?
Yeah, of course. I mean, you know most of the airworthiness ones yourselves. And that's where my thing has always been, and the pilots have appreciated it, because once I'm done the repo, it's your license on the line. You make that decision. I'm not going to say you have to fly that airplane. If you can't fly it, how many airports are there that only have one FBO? Most have 2 or more, right?
Exactly.
So we can take it from this one to that one across the field. We're not taking off, no problems. We can get a ferry permit at the other side, whatever we need, or we can leave it there and get the work done. I'm never going to ask a pilot to do something that's unsafe, right?
Wow.
So they have final call, and they've always done it to the letter of the law, which is great. That's why I love those guys. You talk about, and I love Trevor, and he's not a nerd, but when it comes to aviation, I've always said he's my Rain Man, because Trevor can look through a fence and see a line of airplanes, a quarter mile away, and tell me what every single one is. And I'm like, come on, man, like, let me back here. So he knows the rules, he knows the laws. He's not going to break them. We never did.
Right.
You just leave them there, just move them to another side. If in the rare occasion there's only one, we'd use a prop lock.
Sure.
And lock it down. Then we call a locksmith out, change the lock, so we only have the key. There's ways to do it. So if it can't be flown, we're not flying it.
Absolutely.
If it can be flown, we're still going to fly it generally, unless we have all the information that we need. Like that trip I tell you about, we knew about every airplane in depth.
Wow.
So and some of them we even had the books, so we had all that kind of stuff. But usually we'll just fly it. That one we got in Jersey, we flew it to the next airport, which was 5 miles away.
Right. So just get it away from that location.
Exactly. Yes. Because the guy who owns the airplane is hopefully paying some fees there. Maybe not at this point.
Right.
But he's usually friends with the airport manager, or he knows people on the field.
Right.
Here comes me from out of town. Nobody knows me. I'm trying to take the airplane. I'm not the one they make the cookies for. You know what I mean? They make it for the other guy. So
exactly,
we got to take it to a place where we're on more equal footing.
That makes sense. So if I happen to see, hey Charlie, why is your PC-12 moving? Yeah.
The one in Lubbock. It was a doctor, and we asked about it, well, it's here, but it's it was in a hangar somewhere. Okay, great. So we're just going to figure it out. I go outside to talk to a line guy. Line guys are the best.
Right.
And this guy, this was a long time ago, so I don't want to get anybody in trouble, and I'm not, because I don't even know what year it was. It was 10 years ago or more. I'm like, and this was a Friday night or a Thursday night. I'm like, got a cold case of beer in the car. Can you help me find this airplane? He goes, I got a universal key to this hangar. You know what a universal key is? Bolt cutters.
Wow.
I was thinking that. I was like,
that's exactly. There's no such thing as a universal key. That's the bolt cutter. So he went and gave him a case of beer. He got us in the golf cart, drove us over. He goes, it's unlocked. Okay, sure. Yeah, clearly it wasn't unlocked until he unlocked it. And then we took it. Come to find out that the airport manager called the debtor, who was on his way. We got out of there just in time because, like I said, their relationship and their contract is with the debtor, not with me. Luckily, the line guy was thirsty, and that helped us. So got out of there, and we got out of there quick, but we got out of there just in time.
Wow! Holy smokes! That's insane. and it's just it just blows my mind every time I hear one of your stories. And I guess to kind of bring it back to the TV show. So you're doing your thing at this point, Ken, and all of a sudden, did you get a knock on the door and say, "Hey, would you like to do a TV show about it?" Or what was the genesis to actually bring you into stardom?
Yeah. It's funny. None of my stories are simple, so I apologize for the length of them in advance. This one happened twice. So I point out to you before the show, before we talk, my Wall Street Journal, I was on the front page. The day that came out was the most unbelievable, panic-stricken day for me, because my phone and my email looked like a freaking electrical meter, it just keeps rolling.
Right.
And the phone wouldn't stop. I had... Within 24 hours, I'd heard from a ton of radio and TV people that wanted to do interviews. And I heard from over 100 television producers.
Wow.
That quick. And I'm like, oh my goodness. So we got with one who was, part of the NBC reality side. We had gotten to Discovery. It was going to be just me doing my own show along the lines of Dog the Bounty Hunter. Right? We get a case, right down the line, and they're just following one team. At the last minute, Craig Peligian, who ended up being our season 3 producer, Craig's one of the biggest reality guys, if not the biggest, in the industry. So Craig basically walked in. He loved the show. He had seen some of my articles and stuff. He found another guy. He went in. He goes, you either give me the show or you're not getting anything else. And Discovery said, Ken, you have this contract we offered you. We're pulling it. And they gave it to the other guy. who just did 3 episodes, and they ended it with him. Fast forward a couple years, Discovery calls again, says, "Oh, now we want to do the show. We want you on it, but we're going to do 3 teams like Deadliest Catch."
Right.
Because everybody from our show, the film, the producers, the camera people, the sound people were all on the ships. They were all on Deadliest Catch.
Mm-hmm.
So they thought that was the format to do it. So Discovery actually called me, said, "We're doing the show and we need you to be on it." And that's how it started.
Wow.
But that was my second time through with Discovery. So it was funny. We had a contract. They pulled it. And then they came back and called and said, "Yeah, we probably shouldn't have pulled the contract. Let's do it again." And that's how
we're sorry, but we screwed up.
Yeah, exactly. So, and it's funny, when we started filming, I didn't know Danny. No idea who he was.
Really?
Yeah. So we were filming some stuff. We took a little break. They took all the film back and they were analyzing it and figuring out how they wanted to shoot this.
Mm-hmm.
Came back in February, and I remember it was Cottonwood, Arizona. Beautiful, beautiful town, north of Phoenix by about an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the producers goes, "Oh, I heard you're short a guy with your muscle with the team." I said, "Yeah, I'm talking to some people, whatever." "Well, I happen to have a friend, he's over at the restaurant. Why don't you go meet him for lunch?" Sure. I believed him. Stupid. Danny's from North Carolina. So my first question to him is, you got to be honest. I set him up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, dude, you have to tell me the truth. If you don't tell me the truth, I'm going to know it, and we can't work together.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, "Yes, sir." "Duke or North Carolina?" He goes, "Carolina." I'm like, "All right, we're good. Let's go." What else? Because I'm a Carolina fan. I can't work with a Duke fan.
No,
it can't work. So he says, I had him a little bit nervous too. He's like, "Well, this guy's nuts." He goes, "Carolina." I'm like, "All right, we're good." And then we started talking about it. And I'm like, he had done 3,500 fugitives he had put in prison as a bounty.
Oh, wow.
So Danny knows investigations. He knows people. He knows all that stuff. He's not afraid of like action, and Danny's a piece of cake, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I walk outside with Danny, and I'm telling him, "All right, I'll call you next week when I'm done filming, and we'll get together." Great. Walk outside, the producer out there. He goes, "How did it go?" I'm like, "Good. We're going to give him a shot." He goes, "Good. Mic him up." "Wait, what?" "Mic him up. He's your partner on the show now." I'm like, "You son of a gun." So now, I was working on a case. We were filming it anyway. I'm like, "Yeah, he's with you now." I'm like, "Oh, shoot." And honestly,
Wow.
They did show literally within 15 minutes, he got pulled over for running a stop sign. I'm like, dude, and they have it on film. I'm like, "No, I am making a huge mistake here." Legitimately asked him, like, "Do we have any problems with you getting pulled over?" "What do you mean? Like, do you have any arrests, any felonies, anything like that?"
Mm-hmm.
He looks at me, he goes, "Nothing you need to know about." I'm like, "Oh, okay. Cops walking up to the door right now. Nothing I need to know about." Okay. And once I knew he was busting my stones back, I'm like, "Well, we're going to get along just fine."
Just fine.
What happened. So, so it's been like this, a lot of different things. Once I started working repos with Danny, everything kind of started we got our groove pretty quickly. We found our niche in the repo and what we're good at. And it's worked out, I think, really well. And the fans seem to like us together a lot. So.
Oh yeah, y'all's dynamics is great on the show.
Yeah, I always say, like, we sound different, but we think the same.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, both of us are family first, and we'll kill for our family like everybody else will. Most everybody else will. Like, families first, and do the job right and protect each other, and like all that kind of stuff. Do it right, do it well, go home to your family. And Danny's the same exact way. So at the core, we're so much alike, it makes it easy.
Absolutely. Oh, and by the way, I believe today is Danny's birthday as well. Happy birthday, Danny.
Happy
birthday, my brother.
That's freaking awesome.
Get that man a shout out. He deserves it.
Yep.
For sure. That's awesome.
Too cool. Yeah, as Mike mentioned, I mean, there's the dynamic just watching you and Danny on some of the repossessions. Some of those are just priceless. How is it navigating? So you're like, for example, let's say me and Charlie, we're doing our day-to-day, but we have a camera behind us, right? How does that affect the dynamics as it relates to the the process of repossessing an aircraft.
A lot. Now, I mean, again, to be perfectly transparent, we put this at the front or the back of the show each season. Several of these stories are reproduced.
Yeah.
Which means they've happened. Like they absolutely have happened. My stories are 100% true. They've all happened, but we can't film. You asked about the legal side of it. One thing is we have to protect the identity of the debtor, right? We can't do that. So if a debtor comes on us, you can't even just like white out his face or
blur his face.
You blur it. Yeah, thank you. We can't just blur his face and change his voice, stuff like that, because they can still say, well, everybody here at the airport knows that shirt I wear. Okay, now we're blurring out the shirt. They know how I walk. So at that point, it's like, okay, we're better off. They film it, they don't use it, and then we kind of reproduce it, which makes it easier. That definitely makes it easier.
I bet.
Yeah, but I mean, even like the news shows I've done, and then the shows, the episodes we've done live, it just means we've got to look out for more people, and that's challenging. I posted a picture of a yacht we repossessed, and it was, I think it was on the show too. It was an unbelievable picture, gorgeous, because I think it was just as the sun was coming up. We had done this boat. It was a 90-footer, 95-footer, and the tide was low, so we couldn't move it safely. So we're going to wait till 7 a.m., then we're going to get the tow. Great. That was the plan. So we're sitting there waiting for it. The sun's just coming up. Just an amazing picture. But Jorge Abarca, who's our top guy on the production side, he goes and takes a picture. I'm like, you can't do that. Like, what if they see you? You always have to think that. And that was always our thing. Like, they're out the artistic side, like, oh, that's just a spectacular picture.
Got to get the shot.
Yes. And he's right. It was a tremendous picture. But what if they saw you?
Exactly.
Now we're screwed. Now we have no boat. We have no repo. So that's kind of stuff when they're kind of walking around doing the artistry, we have to protect them and ourselves at the same time. Just makes it harder. There was also one. We did a float plane in season 1 in Lake Okeechobee.
Oh, I remember that episode.
Yeah, it was a fun one.
Yeah. I was like, how the heck are they doing this, man? Go get ate up by alligators.
No. I learned from a friend of mine how to call them. So I'm like doing, alligator calls on the lake, and then they're croaking back. And I say croaking. It's not really a croak, but it's that deep bellow sound. I'm like, they're everywhere. And we're looking at the house where the guy's supposed to be. We can't find the plane. There's no information there that we could really find. We ended up seeing something that happened to fall out of the trash can, fell out. That helped us. But we were going to go talk to the neighbors. So Danny and I walk up to the door. As soon as we step on the porch, Danny gets deadly serious. And he goes, stop. And I'm like, what's going on, Danny? Back away. And he tells the camera, there was 2 cameras behind us. He goes, get off the porch, get to the street.
Wow.
I'm like, what's going on, Danny? And he does his thing. We leave him be because he is in hyper focus mode. When he comes off, he goes, there's squatters there. It's a drug house. I'm like, how do you know that? He goes, the loose boards I was stepping on told me that there was, that's where they kept the stuff.
Wow.
And,
that was the drop point.
Yeah. So he's like, I don't want you guys being near there. But it was so interesting how he just went into instinct mode.
Immediately.
To all 3 of us, me and the 2 camera guys, stop, get off the porch, go to the street. And we did.
Wow.
And that's that kind of expertise from doing the bounty hunting and the
bounty hunting.
Yeah.
That's different. I don't have to worry about that on the repo side so much. And I wouldn't have picked up on that, to be perfectly honest. But it was interesting. And I don't even know if I'm answering your questions anymore. I'm just telling stories now.
Shoot, that's awesome, man.
We're loving it.
The one thing too that when I get tired, I get more jokes, more practical jokes, because I just get when I'm too tired. So on this float plane, if you remember, we were on this thing overnight. Right. So Danny is laying on one of the floats and he fell asleep. I'm like, how the hell do you fall asleep?
How do you fall asleep?
Right? But he did. So there's a rope there,
Mhm.
and me being the jerk that I am, when I get tired, I toss it on Danny and yell snake. And
Oh
man,
my God.
if you would have seen how high he jumped, and he threatened me so bad that we couldn't even put it on film. He was like, "You do that again, you're going to be drowned." And I'm like, "All right, we're just having a little fun." It wasn't fun. Understood. We're cool. So, that was on. You might see the rope going on in the second time, but it's like that. When it happened the first time, he jumped out of the.
That's
he jumped. I'm
hilarious.
surprised he didn't go in the water.
Holy
We have some
smokes.
fun at it too.
Holy smokes. Yeah, it definitely sounds like you have to, especially when, at times the stress levels can be, super elevated.
Mm-hmm.
So you definitely have to enjoy what you do for sure. But as far as aircraft types are concerned, what's the largest aircraft you guys have repossessed?
We've done a 7-4.
Wow.
We did a fleet of 6, I think, 7.2s.
Mhm.
So we've done some big ones.
Wow.
I know this is focused on aviation. We've also done like 3,000 or 4,000 foot cargo ships too.
Holy crap.
Wow.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
container ships?
Yeah.
Wow.
At dock. Now, those are a little different, obviously. But the
That's
first one, we were in
nuts.
Jacksonville, and we're told keep it in place. We've got to get all this done. Blah blah blah. And they're basically what they're trying to do is repo it, keep it in place to make the owners pay the back due money, because if they don't pay,
What are they going to do with it?
well, right, and that cargo is worth 10 times more than they owe. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So they're going to pay. So the first one I did, I've got the team, security, we're all doing everything we're supposed to do. And all this, what we were told is they're foreigners on the boat, and they're not allowed to step on the soil. You've got to keep them on the boat. They're not allowed to come on land. Okay, no problem. So, we have people at each exit, and no problem.
Sure.
Well, now we have a medical emergency.
Oh, no.
Crap.
Got to be kidding me. So, they don't speak English. There's a medical emergency. We're able to figure that out. Now we've got to get a hold of, the group that's overseeing this thing, the department. We've got to get medical people out here, the whole thing. It was such a nut. Oh, it was terrible. It took the whole day. He was fine in the end.
Sure.
But it's just like all those things you don't even think about. And of course, it's going to happen when we have possession of the boat. So it's just like,
Of course, yeah. It couldn't work the other way.
Yeah, so it's always kind of goofy stuff like that. A couple of the other 1,000 footers were easy. The 7.2s, there was one in South Florida near Miami in a boneyard. One was in Roswell, New Mexico, which was cool. Because then you get to see all the aliens, and they took me actually to the alien autopsy room.
Oh,
Which is, I'm telling you, man, when you walk in there, you don't have to believe in anything, but you get the chills in a big way. Something went on there. I don't know what, but it was a cool town. And there was the other one was in Texas somewhere, so we had to like pop around to get each one. The problem is once they know the one's repoed, then they're going to hide the other ones.
they're going to try to get the other ones.
So it's trying to time that together and get the crews in place, and you're not really going to fly those.
Right.
You just got to secure them in place, and then generally speaking, the attorneys get involved, and then at that point, then they'll give us permission to fly.
Them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy smokes.
That was one thing I was going to ask. Which one is harder to acquire? Is it going to be on, the larger yacht side or airplanes?
Well, airplanes, there's so many ratings that
yeah.
And we had, between Trevor and then there was another friend of ours from Orlando, Dave Larson. I swear that guy knew everybody in Florida.
Florida man.
Yeah. And all the airports are all tied together. And Dave was another, he was great for us. He was just so calm and cool. But he, whatever type, whatever kind of aircraft, I'm like, Dave, that was like my first call. Dave, we have this coming up, find me a pilot. And I would expect him to take a couple of hours at first, like make some calls. I don't know. 5 minutes later, I got the guy. He's based out of Fort Lauderdale executive. I'm like, come on, I'm not even ready to move yet. He was always beating me with his pilots. But that's what helps is one, and you guys know you're in aviation, that community's tight.
Tight.
And they're close. There's a lot of networking. I'll never forget. I went to a conference, aircraft finance conference, and Rob Machado was there, who does a lot of writing, and he's
for sure. The legend.
Yeah,
the legend, Rob Machado.
Right. He was fantastic. So I got to see him speak, and I'll never forget. He said a mom comes up with her, just say 10-year-old son, and says, I see a bunch of old guys here. Is it okay to have him hang around the airport? Will he get in any trouble? And he basically looks at it and goes, everybody here is wealthy. They all have background checks. They all have to do certain things to even, you know what I mean? He goes, you can't be in a better situation than be at an airport around pilots.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
And that happened like the first 6 months of my career in the repo side. I heard him talk about that. But man, that makes a lot of sense. And it just made me just think about the whole industry differently. Because it's so obvious, but it isn't.
Yeah.
So, again, with the aviation community being so tight, I'd make 2 phone calls and I'd have a pilot or 2 for whatever the airplane was.
Didn't matter. Wow.
Didn't matter. Didn't matter where it was or what it was. Dave had somebody. Generally, it was Dave. Trevor would too.
Right.
They would have guys for me.
Holy smokes! And you. It's insane, It's like, we need someone to fly this biplane. Oh, I got
You brought up another story. It's so funny. I tell people this all the time. I forget most of the stories until I drive down a neighborhood or until somebody brings something up. So we put a T6 and a Stearman from Key West. We were going to fly the Stearman home, right? And I actually had 3 pilots underbidding their price to get to fly it.
Wow.
So just say normally it's like $500 a day. Like I let them do it. I'll do it for 400. I'll do it for 350. I got it down to like 150 to fly it. I'm like,
wow.
Okay.
$50 and a pack of Skittles. I'm good.
Yeah, exactly. It was almost that easy.
Wow.
And I think it was Trevor. I know it's Trevor flew it home and took pictures the whole way. He said he stayed at like 500 and just enjoyed the entire trip. It was awesome for him. So, the biplane, that was a fun one. That actually made it on the cover of the USA Today here when we did the USA Today article. They loved that biplane, that Stearman. So,
absolutely,
yeah.
That's really cool. And I know, especially for a lot of aviators, to have the opportunity, because again, as I mentioned in the first part of the show, the general consensus is you cut your teeth in instructing, and you end up flying I don't know 7-3 or something forever in a day. But those opportunities to even have the opportunity to fly a T6, for example, or those aircraft, I could not imagine, just getting paid to do that. So that's really cool. But a lot of your stories, kid, it sounds as if most of them are in the States, and high value assets. I'm thinking like Gulf Streams and things like that. Have there ever been any deployments to other countries?
There have. Primarily they're in the US overwhelmingly.
Sure.
Because the repo laws are so much different here. And it's we're more geared towards the finance companies and helping them out. So they'll I got an argument with a towboat guy up in Chesapeake, Virginia. I'm like, I want a boat, repoed, I want it towed. He goes, you guys are criminals, this and that and the other thing. I'm like, slow down. I'm like, if it's not for me, you don't have a job. How do you figure that? I said, well, if I'm not out here repoing and offsetting the risk the banks take, they're not lending the money on all these boats. And if the boats aren't here, guess what? Neither the marinas, and neither are you, and neither. So I said, we're a really tiny part of it, but we're a part of it. So stop giving me your stuff. And he backed away from it and he goes, all right, I'll be there in 15 minutes. And it was like, no admission of anything, which is fine. I don't need you to admit it, but like, let's just be fair with each other. A tiny part, but we're a part of it. So it's cool that way. And we've had a lot of interesting interactions with people, kind of
Sure.
throughout all of it, just trying to figure out. I forget your question. I'm sorry, Johnny.
No,
I got
that's no
sidetracked
worries.
for a minute there.
No worries at all, Ken. I do. Sometimes I'll ask a question like, "Wow, what did I ask?" But
Yeah.
it's just there's so many facets to what you do, Ken.
So many layers, bro.
Yeah,
I mean, my goodness.
multiple layers. Like, I know early on you mentioned ensuring the safety of the film crews and those around you. Like, are there's any sort of standardized risk management involved, or do you guys normally have security to where the area is cordoned off from bystanders?
When we're filming,
Mm-hmm.
no, none of that. No.
Oh wow.
Wow.
Season 3, again, nothing about to say anything about the other
Sure.
groups, but in season 3 we worked for Pilgrim. They were the
Mhm.
production company. That's Craig Pelagian, and I'll go to my deathbed saying he's the best there is in the business of reality. So he every morning required a filmed where the one production person would sit there and had to be filmed every day, where everybody's there, and they would go down the safety measures. Here are the safety measures for the day. If a propeller is moving, you don't go near the airplane. If this, don't do that. And just so he did require safety meetings every single morning, and it was basic stuff.
Sure.
But yeah, there's nothing standardized. Craig made it, Pilgrim made it the most standardized. Because they said, here are the rules, and they would do it every single day, and you'd have somebody filming every single day that everybody was there. So if you saw one day that, hey, where's Charlie? I didn't see him in the video. Oh,
Right.
Yeah, he was late coming. Oh, well, then he wasn't there. He can't film. He can't be on the
Can't be on this crew.
Period.
Right. It was to that level, and he was. I mean, I had a lot of respect for him for something like that. Because
Absolutely.
there's a million things going on. I mean,
There's so much. Like,
it's not just your airplane. Like everything's going every which way, and it's like, good night. Don't walk. And it's
wow.
Just, so there was that. We didn't cordon off.
Sure.
We tried to not have people. And you'd have some of the extra film people, some of the extra, trying to shush walkers in traffic away.
Sure.
Yeah.
But sometimes they were there anyway. It happens. It's life.
It happens.
It's a real airport.
Absolutely. So. Absolutely. In terms of and not to dive too far in the weeds, Ken, but in terms of the technologies and how the industry has changed over the years since you've been in the business, have you noticed the ability to track individuals down, whether it be social media or whatever means are leveraged? Have you noticed it a little easier to at least get a general area where a lot of the assets are?
Yeah, I mean, so when we started, honestly, what the biggest difference is? The Waze and the Google Maps and stuff that wasn't there. So I would have to actually print out maps of where to go when I was leaving and going somewhere. So that on itself, having that on the phone, oh my goodness, so much easier. Put it in the phone, whatever airport, now I'm going. There was none of that back then. It was kind of just feeling your way around.
Have you used MapQuest?
Yeah, exactly. I actually still have some MapQuest and some of my folders from in the beginning. Like that's how it was. We have access to certain things because we've been licensed private investigators, so we could get certain reports and
right
that. But at the end of the day, you're trying. A lot of it's gut, and a lot of it's phone calls. My office manager would always do her arch enemy from high school and use her name and be a ditzy girl trying to get information. There was one airplane, and I'm trying not to tell too many stories, but this one's hilarious. There's a plane in West Texas. It's called, I'm sure you've heard of it, the Beagle. It's a Beagle airplane. Oh, yes. So that's what we're going for. Okay, great. And we have an idea, but maybe, not sure. So she's like, give me the, whatever. I'll make the call. Give me the phone number. Here you go. So I'm sitting on the other side of the office, and I'm listening to this. And she goes, hi, ditzy as can be. My name's Stacy, blah, blah, blah. My boss is looking for a Snoopy plane. And I'm like, no, what? And she waved me off, like, shut up, leave me alone. no, ma'am, it's a Snoopy plane. I know it's a Snoopy plane. That's what he said. I'm like, it's not. And I'm sitting, no, it's a beagle. It's not. What are you doing? She's waving me off. She goes, you know what, ma'am? That must be it. It must be a beagle. I knew Snoopy was a beagle. I just got him confused. Thank you, ma'am. And she hangs up the phone. She goes, would you just let me do my thing? I'm like, how am I supposed to know that's going to work? Exactly where it was, because she disarms them. Right, she's looking for a stupid Snoopy plane, and
the Snoopy plane with floppy ears.
right, exactly. And the airport manager's like, "Do you mean a beagle?" And she goes, "Yeah, that's where she goes. Yeah, that's what it is. I knew Snoopy was a beagle." Blah blah blah. Oh yeah, and she like gets us the space number. It's an A14. I'm like, wow, my goodness, that was good. So she was, she was good. So there's still a lot of that phone call stuff where you can kind of, close it in. We don't leave the office. I always say we don't leave the office till we're 90% sure we know where it is.
Wow.
Could always be wrong. But we're pretty certain on where it is. And, that's a lot of Google Earth kind of looking in at different locations. You're getting the address, you're getting the associates, you're getting the work, and boom, how do I spread it out? And then, there was a speedboat we were looking for. He was in Memphis. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, there's no way he's in Memphis on the river there. Not with this 47-foot fountain lightning. There's no way. So I spread it out, go a little further. And then I see the Lake Pickwick. I'm like, that's it. Called the first marina I saw on Lake Pickwick. Mm-hmm. I had my office manager do it because she was great. First one, bingo, it's there.
Wow.
And then literally, I don't know, an hour and a half later, I'm on an airplane flying to Nashville to drive down to Lake Pickwick. So, there's a lot of feel, a lot of that doesn't make sense. That, if you have a citation and it's a, 3,000, whatever, a smaller runway, well, it's not going to be there. So let's work it out. And so there's a lot of feel,
process of elimination type.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's why I always told the guys too, when they were helping, it's like, if you found out where it isn't, that's a good thing, because you're that much closer to know where it is. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And it's like, don't it? Because everybody would get frustrated. The investigators, like, I tried, Orlando Executive Airport. It's not there. Okay, that's good. Now you know where it isn't. So now
that's one less you got to look at.
Right. And our office was there, so it's like, I know, there's a couple of different FBOs. It's a big place.
Right.
You don't have to look at it now. That's good. So check Sanford. And then, you kind of work it that way until you find out where it is.
Wow.
Technology helps, but it's still the word of mouth, being comfortable enough calling the contacts again. Mm-hmm. If I don't have a contact, I can call Dave, Trevor, Duke, all these different people and say, hey, do you know somebody who might work there? Oh, yeah, I got a guy who works maintenance at. Can you give them a call, see if they've seen the airplane? Boom. Right. So it's the network is so much more important than any other technology.
Anything technology-wise.
Right. Waze is great. I know where to go. I know the directions now. That is a huge help. But the other technology, it's still word of mouth, phone calls, networks, kills any technology.
Right. That's just sounds like just some old school snooping, just getting in there, hitting
ground ops.
Right. Ground ops. Absolutely.
And I was just telling somebody this weekend, like, I can't tell, man, I'm from Philly. Mm-hmm. I live in Philly. So we get blizzards, on occasion. And I can't tell you how many snowstorms I missed because I had to go down south. It's terrible. I hate snow too. So it's unfortunate that I had to miss them all. And I'll never forget, we were looking for a 60-foot yacht in Florida, and it got to the point where I just had to walk the marinas, because there's down in certain parts, you just have to start walking. I didn't have a good clue. So I know it's in Fort Lauderdale somewhere. And we were walking the marinas. I remember calling my wife every 3 hours. How you doing? Oh, there's 6 inches of snow on the ground now. Now I'm sunny in 82.
It's kind of hot. I'm sweating. Kind of missed it.
I didn't say that. I wasn't looking for death by hanging out. Then I call back. Yeah, there's another 2 inches of snow. I'm like, oh my gosh. I might not be able to get home tomorrow now, and I don't know. I'll have to stay down here. So, but I remember doing that a lot. A lot of times you just have to walk.
Right.
Boats more than airplanes. Airplanes I've done. There was a in Pacoima, there's Whitman Airport, and we
Mhm.
were able. They let us out on the field, and we were looking for 1957 Beach something.
Mhm.
And I was with Dave, and he knew that the windows were different on this year. The back windows were different. So I'm like, isn't that one there? It's a V-tail. He goes, nah, the windows aren't right. I'm like, how the hell do you people know this? Like the level of passion from aviation is incredible. I
Absolutely.
was so respectful and appreciative of that. Yeah, but we ended up walking a mile and a half on that field.
Oh wow.
Just trying to
Dang.
find the airplane. So sometimes you just have to walk.
Wow.
So
What's the strangest location Ken you guys had to go into acquire an aircraft? Has it been any like dirt strips that are like off in the middle of nowhere?
yeah, we've had some of them. The strangest was we found an airplane in a steakhouse, hanging from the roof of a steakhouse.
What?
Yeah,
That was up for repossession.
yeah. Now we didn't repossess it. We abandoned it, obviously.
Right.
That's
It was
not. It was hanging from.
It was a 1953 Tri-Pacer.
Wow.
So
Wow.
they thought it was in South Florida. We had done our research there. We were able to get another address. Found out that the guy originally, his home was 10 minutes from my home up here in Philly.
Mm-hmm.
So now I've got so now I'm going to call the guy. I've got something in common. I'm going to disarm him.
Right.
Oh, you're from whatever this town. I'm from this town over here.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. How long you been in Florida? Oh, so many years. So let me tell you the reason for my call. I'm here to repossess your airplane. He goes, you're not going to do it. I said, okay, don't go there. Because, now I'm getting mad.
Right.
Don't go there. I'm going to get it. He goes, not this one. Why am I not going to get this one? He goes, because it's hanging from a steakhouse in Ohio from the ceiling. I sold it to them. Obviously,
Sure.
It's just the fuselage, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, yeah, it wouldn't run anymore. I couldn't afford it. So I got $1,000 and they're hanging it from there. I'm like, so I sent somebody to Ohio who was close by. And he's like, yeah, it's here.
Wow.
They saw.
They got a good state too.
Yeah, exactly.
Put
Oh,
a
man.
motor
So-
oil on it. No.
Oh man, case was solved. So that's the weirdest ones, but there's a lot of another one. And do you ever hear of Spruce Creek in Florida? Fly in.
Oh yeah.
So that's beautiful. We got one from one of the I always call them the plane garages because it's attached to the house. It's an attached hangar.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got one from there.
Wow.
We get a lot from like behind the houses, like on farms. They'll put them in the barns. So we've got a couple from back there. But the problem is when you get them from those weird places, they don't run.
Right.
And in most cases, it's like take 1 million pictures and send it to the bank and say, let's let it go.
Let's let it go.
And we abandon it. They always say if you're not going to make $5,000 on it, then if they're not going to make $5,000 on it, abandon it. I'm like,
right.
Yeah, it doesn't have a wing, so probably
Right.
should have limited it.
Yeah. It's gonna be kind of hard to make that.
No
Yeah.
engine in it. I was like,
Yeah, we still locate it. We get the pictures, send them back. So, but usually those are abandoned. The really crazy ones.
That's interesting.
I had one in St. Croix where the guy tried to run. It was beautiful, and the cop we're chasing down. He's run up the engine. Cops coming up, the taxiway comes like he's flying up there to try and cut him off. He cuts it, spins it, and puts me up against the prop. I'm like, really, dude? He goes, it's your airplane.
God.
Wow.
Yes, that makes sense. But
is this what you're looking for, sir?
Yeah. You have to put me in front of the propeller. He goes, your plane. There we go. So that was, it was beautiful, an island. But the worst one, as far as surprises, when Danny and I went to Jamaica, and we were looking for I think a B-58 or something like that. And I'm like, all right, let me go inside. I'm going to talk to the airport people here, the FEO manager. Just snoop around. So he's walking around. He turns the corner around a hangar, and two guys with AR-15s.
Oh,
Point right at it. He goes, "Excuse me, sir, I'm going to go back to the FBO." So they stopped him and asked him some questions, and he was able to talk himself out. But he said, turning the corner and then having that faced at you is not a good day. I'm like,
Right.
I get that. So, those are weird things in different locations.
Right.
It's everything's everyone's different, which is the fun part of it. Every case is different. Every aircraft is different. It's rare unless you're picking up, like we picked up a bunch of otters, I think, up in Alaska, and we were able to get like 6 in a row from the same place.
Oh my
God, that was unbelievable, because we're like, boom, boom, boom. You know what I mean? And all the pilots again were super excited. A, Alaska, and B, the airplane was so cool. I loved it. So that was a unique place, but it was cool. That was different because we got to actually take a bunch at one time, and they all were airworthy. We knew what they were, and they all went flying. Within a couple hours, there was one after the other after the other. And it's like, it was gorgeous.
That's crazy.
Fun stuff.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And it's I don't know. Like
Johnny's speechless.
I'm speechless. I think it would just be amazing as a pilot myself to just, be able to just travel all over and, fly, have the opportunity to fly some of these amazing aircraft. But then at the same time, it's like, okay, what if we're in the middle of a repossession and I happen to be right in the middle of a dope deal or something, right? So it's, I'm sure it's that level of danger. So, and let's say, for example, that happens and it's just not the repossession can't continue due to, risk of health, right? What does one tell the bank? Is like, whoops, sorry, I almost got shot trying to get that, 172. It's not going to happen. How's that working?
Well, I mean, so they don't want us to get hurt. So that's first and foremost. I remember, like I said, everything you say, I'm going to remember a story. So
absolutely.
We were repoing a couple of jets from Orlando International. So, we got let into the one. It was in a hangar. It was nighttime. The other one, they wouldn't let us get. Okay, but we're in there, and it's got the medical locks on it. So, the pilot's there saying, you can't pick those locks. And the guy who's my security guy at the time was really good at picking locks. So he's like, I'm going to try it. And the pilot, young guy, you're never going to get it. Why are you wasting? So I'm like sitting there. I'm like, how you doing? Quietly talking to him. He goes, I felt the tumbler move. I'm like, okay, you know which way it goes then, right? He goes, yeah. But you're never going to get it. Let's just do it. Sure enough, all of a sudden he got it, right? Click. He yelled, and now I'm going to leave a message with the bank. We've got the airplane. It's locked up. We might need to get a locksmith out there, so on and so forth. All of a sudden, security guy yells, I got it, like screams it. Now you know how it echoes in a hangar.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes.
I'm starting to laugh, right? So I'm leaving this message. I'm like, all right, so we got the airplane, and we just opened it, so I'll call you tomorrow. Bye. She calls me at 7:00 on the dot. Are you all right?
Wow.
I heard, did somebody shoot at you? Like, so she was freaked out.
Freaking out.
Thought somebody was. I'm like, no, it was just a little fun because we got the door open and now we can take off in it. She's like,
right.
Don't ever scare me like that again. If that happens, you call me back and tell me you're okay. So, they don't want us going in
dangerous situations like that.
More dangerous than it needs to be. Now there's a certain read on things. We had a former NFL player who was piloting the other airplane, who was high as a kite, and he went after Dave and gave him a 2-arm shiver and sent him flying back 20 feet and stuff like that. I mean, we've had. I was chased on boats. They were shooting at us and stuff. They don't like that, the banks.
Sure.
Of course. So if that happens, if it's too dangerous, we'll tell them that. And we'll tell them we're not done. We just need to regroup and figure out.
It just ain't going to be today.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, and they'll stress you. Don't you dare get yourself hurt on my case. I'm going to be pissed at you. I'm going to fire you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Like they want to stress the importance of
absolutely
doing it safely. So, which we appreciated too. So it was never a problem to tell them it's nuts right now. We need a minute.
Yeah, there's 20 guys with AKs just standing around the aircraft. We're not going in.
We're going to walk back quietly. Yeah.
We're going to need SEAL Team 6 on this job.
Exactly. That's what it is. It was funny too. I told you the pilot, from a pilot's perspective, when the pilot ran, we were in Stuart, Florida, getting this POS airplane. It was a terrible airplane. Terrible.
Man, Florida sounds like a terrible state.
If it wasn't for Florida, you wouldn't be talking to me.
I'm about to say, you better
Right.
do this, kid.
You wouldn't care. My stories would be cut in half. So we flew down there at night. We're trying to get it late. We're just going to, got two pilots. One's English and one's Trevor on his first repo. So we land. It's like 9 o'clock at night. We're walking around. I'm like, there it is. Mind our business. Then we see the security guy drive by. I'm like, okay, that's fine. If he has a question, he can come to me. He didn't have a question. He kept going. Great. So we're working on it, trying to open the door, this and that. All of a sudden, we hear sirens going. I'm like, oh my gosh, something must be going on big in town. I hope everybody's okay. Must be a fire, big accident, whatever. Well, then they're getting closer. It's like, do you guys see anything? Like, can you see the lights in the sky from a fire or anything? No, there's nothing. Closer. Well, it was us.
Wow.
So the cops come. There was, I think, 10 or 12 cars. So like 20 officers. They all come out, guns pointing. What are you doing here? Repo in an airplane. And I had already called it in, which saved me.
Right.
To the police. So I had a case number and everything. We're here to repo this plane. You say, wait, who are you here with? I'm like, it's me and I'm here alone. They ran. They took off.
They all did. Ken, you're on your own, bro. We out.
Oh my gosh. That dude ran a 4.40 to get out of there. I'm telling you. He was like the road runner. I just saw the dust behind him. So, they get through it, whatever. I showed them. I said, I have a case number. I already called it in. And, it took a minute. Then they finally all dropped their guns. I'm like, saying to them, we're talking. I'm like, seriously, you sent 20 people here for this? She said it would have been 26, but 6 got stuck behind the train in town.
Oh, wow.
The
whole squad.
Right. They're like, this is the most exciting thing that's happened to us in years. I'm like, thanks. Glad I could help.
Yeah.
Win, please.
So that's the pilot option. You can always take off. Just be back when I need you.
Exactly.
But, yeah, it was funny.
Oh my
There's
gosh.
one other thing I was curious. What is your your average time frame from the time you get a call from the bank till the time you can actually take, the asset?
That's a good question. It's generally, I like to say I'll have it within a week.
Oh, okay. Wow, that's faster than I expected.
Well, I want it to be faster than that. Because the whole thing is you're always chasing, right?
Yeah.
So the longer it takes, the longer they have to hide it, to move it, to whatever. So
to kind of get a nod, hey, somebody's coming after you.
Right. Exactly. So that's why I call, like, it's the logistical side is the part I love. I got to figure out a flight to get to where it's close. I got to find it first. I got to get a pilot in hand or whatever, and get all these things lined up, and then it's like, let's go. I told you the one boat I had, I want to say I had it within like 5 hours of the repo coming over. And that was flying to Nashville. Orlando to Nashville was like an hour flight. Got the car, boom, immediately got the boat. But some of them take months. Because
I was about to say, I imagine some of them, I mean, those guys hide them pretty well. Make you chase your tail all over the country.
Right. And I've had that where it's just like bing, bing, bing. There was one, I mean, he was flying it back and forth between Daytona and Orlando. And there was one, we were flying over to Sarasota to get an airplane. And we hear the on the headset, there's a plane flying out. I'm like, oh, that's our plane.
That's
like,
it.
So we were coming in, we actually see it.
Oh,
and he's heading to Fort Myers. Now, unfortunately for us, he had tracked his flight, so we knew it was training. He was flying to Fort Myers and flying back to Sarasota, thankfully. But it's like there are times where it's like, that's it. There was a boat we did, a 120-foot yacht. We were all set to pick it up at 7 o'clock the next morning. 7 o'clock, we're outside. Again, another end of November day. It's sunny and 74. My wife's at home. It's snowing. Sorry, honey.
Love you.
We're in the islands. Sorry. It's spectacular here. And all of a sudden, like there was an inlet from the ocean to the to the back area where these houses were. all of a sudden the sun gets blocked out. We're having a cup of coffee outside waiting for the captain. The sun gets blocked out, and I look over. I'm like, "That's our boat." So it's such a deflating feeling. It's like sickening. So we sat there and we watched it, see which way it went.
Mm-hmm.
At that, I knock on the captain's door. He was out way late at the night before, so he answers his hotel door. His hair is standing straight up. My wife's like, "You should fire that guy for being drunk." I'm like, "If a boat captain isn't drunk, I don't want him."
That's exactly right.
Because he wasn't going that night, but he was going next morning. He looks like death warmed over. I said, "Dude, our boat's on the run," and he instantly, like to life, he's like, "All right, give me 5 minutes. I'll meet you there." But we tracked where the boat was going. The heading, I still remember, was 278.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, it's either going to the other end of the island or it's going to Lauderdale.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to wait until then. We had to get the 4 plane tickets because there was 4 of us: a boat, the captain, mechanic, security, and me, on a little silver airplane. The airline Silver that flies from Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Little 15-seater. The security guy is scared to death. He's never flown on a smaller airplane. He's like panicking in the airplane. So we end up flying over. We get there before they do, obviously, and then we're standing on an overpass, and we're like, "There's the boat," and we watch him come right in, goes right under us. We saw him go to the right, go behind a house. By the time he's ready to throw the lines, we catch the lines and tie his boat up for him. So, and that happened. The bank kept letting it go. So 3 times in a week, we repoed that boat.
Holy
the third
crap.
time, the captain's wife ran off the boat and said, "You guys are too weird. You're like witches or something. I can't be here." Because every time they would throw the line, we're there to catch it. So sometimes they're quick. Sometimes they take a long time, but we want it to be fast because if not, they're running.
Yeah.
And we've had.
I mean, they have an idea it's coming. I mean, you have to.
It's no surprise you haven't made a $200,000 payment.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
The new
I had no idea you guys were coming.
Payment.
I got that Starbucks. I thought that would no $5, 200,000, not the same. Yeah, it's so they know, and the maintenance is usually a little bit behind on it, and then storage is behind. Everything's falling behind. They know it.
Right.
They know.
That's why we try and go as quick as we can. But yeah, some of them just take a while.
Wow.
Yeah, because I imagine too that helps. When you resell it, not letting it get to that. Okay, well, this thing's unflyable. This yacht's not even running.
Right.
Kind of hard to resell something of value when it doesn't work.
Not to book value, and that's obviously we want to get as much back as possible because they're trying to get the loan paid for. The bank is
exactly.
So every dollar we get pays that loan down and gets them closer to breaking even.
Yeah,
breaking even.
Yeah,
for sure.
Because I imagine a lot of them, they'd never break even. They just get close at that point.
They generally don't. And especially when the economy was terrible in 8, 9, and 10.
Mm-hmm.
We actually had Peter Alexander from NBC News with us on a piece, and we were picking up was it a Gulfstream 50?
550.
What's that?
Gulfstream 550 can?
No.
Gulfstream 5?
I know exactly where it was. Sorry, I forget exactly the make and model. But anyway, it was a nice it was a nice airplane.
Right.
It was was like $8 million. Okay, but it was at the beginning of the decline. So we repoed it, and then did everything we had to do, got it moved to Orlando, and we're trying to sell it. So the first bid we have is just say $3 million, and they're like, "There's no way. We can't take that." So we got an appraisal done, and it said like the economy was doing this on the values, and I'm like, "I think you should take it." I'm like, "We can't take it."
Yeah, that's a $5 million loss.
Right. I'm like, okay, but just if you don't, every month we keep it. There's storage, there's run-ups, there's this, there's that.
Right.
So that's fine. We'll keep trying, and we did. We ended up selling it 18 months later. For about $600,000.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, because the economy was just that bad.
It was that awful.
Yeah. I mean, people don't remember sometimes how just terrible times were.
For sure.
So, they ended up losing it. And it's like,
wow.
I don't know what to tell. Like the appraisal did say This is the number now.
Right.
But all indicators are the values are coming down quick. And that's
somebody got a steal on that joker.
Yeah, because then they were able to sit there when the times got better. Now,
man, they put some dollars in the bank.
Yeah, well, I did find out. So one of my camera guys, on the third season, on the last season, whatever, he's from North Carolina. His dad was at an airport in whatever small town, not too small. And I'm like, yeah, at the time, the tail number was blah, 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 blah. He goes, is that this kind of airplane? Yeah. And he goes, is this the colors on it? He goes, yeah. He goes, that plane's trashed. How do you know that? He goes, somehow, like the tail got clipped somehow and it got just destroyed, and they didn't have the money to repair it. So I'm like, good. The dude didn't make as much as he thought he was going to.
Right.
But yeah, somehow he got the tail clipped, or he clipped the tail somehow himself and never fixed it. And it was just sitting there more or less in their boneyard doing nothing.
Be like that poor CRJ 900 in Atlanta last week.
It's crazy, isn't it?
It is, man.
It's a big mistake.
Yeah,
huge mistake for sure. Yeah. I definitely don't think duct tape and elbow grease is going to fix that one. That's for
sure. Heck, it's for sale on Marketplace for $800 if you want
it. Absolutely. So, Ken, I want to ask you, especially because we have a lot of aspiring aviators. We have a very, quite a bit. But I'll talk eventually, Johnny. A fairly young audience, right? For those aspiring to, become an entrepreneur or is looking to, slide into something or segue into something that may be unconventional and perhaps might be looking into the repossession industry. Do you have any tips for, young entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs in general looking to perhaps slide into the industry?
Don't come after me. It's my world. No, I'm kidding. So first of all, it's a little more expensive than you would think.
Oh, I imagine so.
Yeah, I mean, insurance is just sickening. You can't just do aviation alone. There's just not enough of it.
Sure.
When the economy was terrible, there was plenty of it. I had 40 Cirruses at one time for sale.
My God.
Yeah. I had so many that Cirrus was calling the bank saying, you can't do this. And it's like, but they're not paying. Like,
what do you want me to do?
On whatever. So the bank's like, if you don't want me to sell them, I've got a solution. They're like, oh, we love it. We'll do it. Whatever. Let me know. You buy them off for this. I'm like, oh, we can't do that. Then we have to get our money back. It was just a shame because, Cirrus at that time was a newer kind of thing. And the pilots they were going for were newer pilots. And I always said I didn't think they had the same level of passion that most aviators do. It's a plane with a parachute. What could possibly go wrong? Everything. Everything. But so it was just at that time they were hit pretty good.
Wow.
But it's expensive because you have to front all the costs. So when I have those 40 airplanes, that's 40 spaces. It's outside, but it's 40 spaces, it's 40 run-ups, it's 40, of everything. And that's just that one flight. Now, what happens when the economy is not that good and there's two airplanes? How are you making money?
Yeah.
The insurance company's not going to say, oh, we'll give you a break. The office has still got to be paid for, all that stuff. So it's expensive. It's hard to get into. You have to have a Florida license, repo license.
Really?
You have to. Because Florida, as you can tell from the stories, Florida has a lot of repos.
For sure.
And they require their own license. They don't allow anybody to come into Florida without a Florida license.
That is super interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah. To me, it's great. I mean, I always had a house down there and a place, so it was easy. But they also have very high standards. Like you have to take a 40-hour course at the beginning. You have to pass it. You have to keep updating on your repo laws and repo,
Mhm.
all that kind of stuff.
Continue
so you have to be up
ed
to
type
date.
crap.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you have to. If you don't have a Florida license,
Mhm.
then you either have to turn down all the Florida cases, or you have to work with somebody who's from Florida, which means there goes your
There goes
profit.
your profit.
So, yeah. So it's a challenging business. There's a lot to it. That's why, honestly, my whole career there was really just like two other companies that were doing it.
Wow.
So it's a very challenging. Everybody wants to sue you.
Oh, couldn't imagine.
Yeah, everybody's wrong. I'm wrong on everything. Okay. The only time I actually had to go to court, though, was in Oklahoma City, a Cirrus, surprisingly. The guy who had the airplane bought it from the debtor. The debtor kept the money, never paid off the loan.
Oh,
Right. So not really his fault, which I understand. But we go there and, we talk it out a little bit. And, he calls out his son's friend who's with the FBI. Okay, great. Well, that doesn't mean anything to us. So anyway, have a talk. He actually taxis it from the other FBO to us and hands us the keys. So the next morning we heard he was like snooping around. So we flew it out of there, and he sued us for deceitful practices. Now we went to court and nothing ever happened. We were free and clear enough, not a judgment against us at all.
Yeah.
Right.
But still to get sued for that, we were somebody threatening San Francisco area on another airplane. We've been threatened all the time with lawsuits. It's a litigious business, so you have to be ready for that too. So, it sounds great, and that's the stuff. Everybody sees the 14 minutes on TV.
Yeah, the glitz and the glamour, but don't see the actual behind the scenes of the paperwork that goes.
And honestly, I'm no different. Because how did I convince myself and my wife to do it? I saw a 3-minute clip. Like, that's got to be real. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. And it's okay. But it was just funny because I fell for it. So, there's just a lot to it. It's hard. And honestly, like the sales part is important.
For sure.
But you can get a salesperson. The part that matters the most is the investigation. Because if you can't find anything, you've got no business.
You got no business.
Yeah. So, the pilots, I was so lucky to be so close to Embry-Riddle and to make that connection forever, which led me to a bunch of other pilots and, keep building that network of pilots. I was so lucky.
Absolutely.
So lucky for that. And that was critical because that allowed me to be more free when I found stuff to say, hey, meet me at such and such. Like the most remote places in the planet, and it's like, I need you to be there and tomorrow, and they're like, no problem. Wow. Really? All right, and off we go. So the finding is the single most important part, because if you don't find it, there's nothing to fly.
Exactly.
But then it's the networking, it's the sales, it's all that kind of stuff, and it's building it up. So it's not a cheap business to get into. And it takes a while to get going.
For sure.
I imagine so. Like just trying to think through logistics and all that. I mean, goodness gracious, it's got to be very expensive.
Yeah. And how do you convince a bank to give you their cases if you haven't done
it? That's the other part. I mean, if your phone ain't ringing from the bank, you're something to
even call. Wow. All right, we're ready to start a business. All right. Whose airplanes are we repoing?
Hey, Capital One. I got any airplanes need repoed.
Right, and that's it. And the departments are so niche. If you're not good with them, it's like you're cooked.
Right.
One person can ruin a relationship, even if it's the biggest bank in the country. If you have one bad relationship with that bank, you're cooked, and there goes all the business.
Wow.
So
there goes all the business.
Yeah, and honestly, since COVID, they have really cut way back on repos. And
really,
they're trying to find a million different ways to do it now. For 2 years, they basically didn't repo.
Dang,
because it was just bad. It just looked bad, and that was what they were worried about. Like, we've got this pandemic, and you're going to repo my plane? I'd be like, yeah,
Heck yeah, because ain't nobody gonna be there.
Right, exactly. I'll wear my mask and I'll get there. Don't worry about me. Yeah, exactly. But the bank, it looks bad if you're, JP Morgan, for example, and not that they were doing it, but to be a bank of that level and to say, I need to take Mr. Small Man's middle class guy's airplane from him when I'm a $1 trillion bank, like, come on. So it's slowed way down since then.
Wow.
It's So it's a tough business to get into. I'll say that. But
I couldn't imagine.
I got lucky. We bought a company that had it didn't have any business, but it had kind of the framework, had the licenses and stuff like that, where we kind of just roll into that.
So you kind of had a halfway foundation.
Yes.
Right, something to work with.
Yes.
And a direction, because you were so new. It's like, what the heck am I doing now? But at least you had that kind of direction to go, okay, well, this is my next step. And then, and then here we are today.
Yeah, here we are.
Wow.
No, it's 19 years later. 19 years. 3,200 plus repos later.
Holy smokes, Ken. And so I know, like, on the TV show, there were multiple different teams. You had yourself, then you had the other teams who were Kevin Lacey, I believe. Did you guys have an opportunity to collaborate or at least meet throughout the entirety of the show?
Yeah, I met Mike and Kevin a few times. I've worked with Mike a few times.
Wow.
I think there was one episode. We were at Sun and Fun. Remember? And then they called us over, and they're like, "Do you know anybody here with such and such?" And I came up with, because the first thing I could think of was like, there's this Rowdy something was his name, his nickname. And I'm like, it's like Rowdy Roddy Piper. I'm like, no, that's not it. That's the wrestler. Don't you know that episode came out like 3 days after he passed away? I'm like,
really?
I'm like, well, at least I got to give him a little shout out. Like, that was the first thing that came into my mind. But Mike and I are friends, and we have collaborated before, and hopefully we will again.
Oh, too cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it is, for sure.
He seems like a character now.
You know what? He is the most laid back, chill guy in the world. And his wife, Valerie, is just such a sweet person, like a ton of integrity, like everything. You know what I mean? A little bit of a modern Americana there.
Yeah.
And if you know anything about him, he's got his Dragon Ranch going, which is a nonprofit thing that he does to try and save as many injured and sick animals as possible.
Wow.
So most of what you see from him is the state of Florida says, "Hey, I have this king cobra. It's injured. Will you take it?" And Mike's like, "Yeah, bring it on over." I'm like, "You are out of your
send that thing back over the ocean."
Exactly.
Let them deal with it. We don't want them
here. And Mike's like, "Yeah, we got a sick alligator. Bring him over." And
that's really cool.
But now he's doing some other stuff with the ranch too. And again, just big-hearted people, good people, as laid back as you could possibly have it, though.
Oh, too cool. Cool. That's awesome. And again, just watching, their dynamics and how as it relates to how they, handled, the various repossessions on the episodes in the show was just amazing. Definitely speaks a lot to their character, for sure. I know as far as Ken, and we know the show, after the show ended, you still kept doing your thing. As far as what you can tell us here on the show, what's next for Ken? What's next for the company? Is it just business as usual, or you got some things cooking for the folks out there to look out for?
As Rock would always say, you can smell what Ken's cooking. We got something cooking always. We're hoping in the next week or two to have something pretty significant going. So we're working on some significant deals, some significant things.
Awesome.
And those will lead to others. So
awesome.
It's like dominoes at this point. We just need the first one to fall, and then
the rest is.
Then we'll have a lot of happy people. We'll just leave it at that.
Too cool. Definitely looking awesome. Fingers and toes crossed for sure. Definitely looking forward to it, Ken. Again, I want to from the CTP team and CTP family, definitely want to thank you for taking the opportunity and spending some time with us. I know we're just coming up on an hour and a half, even though didn't I say, Charlie? Yeah, we're just going to keep you, Mr. Camp.
About 30 minutes. We won't take too much of his time.
Won't take exactly, and
I have to rename the episode to Story Time with Mr. Ken because
they're
awesome, man.
It's funny. The first radio interview, I'll do this quick. The first radio interview I did, well, the first was in Miami. The second one was WIRF in Detroit, which is like the rock station in Detroit, right?
Yep.
Sure.
So I'm just sitting here talking like I'm talking to you, figuring they're going to edit it down to 6 minutes. We were on the phone for 28 minutes and, joking back and forth.
Sure.
They played the whole thing without a commercial.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
28 straight minutes. I'm like, if I'd have known that, I'd have acted differently. Yeah. And now I'm like,
I had some sense.
Yeah. This is me. Take it or leave it. We're going to have some fun. We're going to tell some stories. And
Absolutely.
That's what we do.
Absolutely. No, we definitely enjoyed it here in the Close Traffic Podcast for sure.
100%.
Is there any socials or Instagrams or anything, Ken, you want to share for the audience?
Yeah, I have Ken. It's mostly Ken Cage Repo on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I'm just starting TikTok. That's not going so hot for me yet, but I'm trying it. So
Man,
right there with you, I'm struggling as well.
my kids went to college, so I'm like, come on, I need something. Dad needs a little help here. Like, yeah, you'll be all right.
Just get that 1,000 go live, and then you'll be set.
Right. If we start that camera going though, and we start filming something, I know their butts will be right here helping.
That's right.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Too cool. And yeah,
Yeah.
we'll also definitely post it on the podcast description as well as YouTube, the YouTube description when it premieres also. But no, once again, Ken, thank you for coming on the show, ladies and gentlemen. Ken Cage from Airplane Repo. Charlie, man, it's just a heck of a show. I absolutely.
Man,
yeah, I just, I was looking at the timer here, and I was just like, man, I can honestly, I could go for another couple hours, but I know it's Sunday, and we're all just trying to get ourselves together. Lord knows my kids are probably banging down the door of my office now. But Charlie, any closing thoughts for the audience out there, my friend?
Man, everybody just stay safe out there and take care of each other.
Absolutely. And once again, just want to take the time and thank everyone for listening in or watching. As far as my closing thoughts, pay your dang bills unless you don't want to see it.
Yeah, you don't want Ken rolling up in your back door.
Exactly. Exactly. Get an autograph and hand him the keys. Just don't give him any problems.
Appearances are cheaper than Repo, so just have me for an appearance if you want to say hi.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh.
Well, don't get on Danny's bad side.
Exactly. Well, ladies and gentlemen, once again, take care of yourselves and keep the blue side up. We'll see it.